He never imagined that returning a wallet would change everything. That Saturday afternoon at the mall was supposed to be just another boring day. But sometimes, the universe has other plans. You know that feeling when you find something valuable? That split second when your heart races and you look around wondering if anyone's watching? Marcus felt it too. The leather wallet was thick, expensive, sitting right there on the food court floor. What would you have done? Most teenagers would have pocketed it. Nobody was looking. The mall was crowded. It would have been so easy to just walk away. But Marcus picked it up and opened it. Inside, he saw more cash than he'd ever held in his life. Crisp $100 bills, credit cards, a driver's license showing an elderly man's face. His hands trembled slightly. You see, Marcus wasn't from the wealthy side of town. His single mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. That money could have solved so many problems. New shoes for his little sister, groceries for the month, maybe even help with the rent that was already 2 weeks late. But something inside him whispered louder than the temptation. He thought about that old man's face on the license. Maybe he had grandchildren. Maybe that money was for medicine. Maybe it was his entire Social Security check. Marcus knew what it felt like to lose something important. To feel that panic in your chest when you realize it's gone. The decision took less than 5 seconds. Marcus walked straight to mall security. He handed over the wallet, watched them count the money, signed the report. The security guard looked at him strangely, almost surprised. Not many kids would do this, he said. Marcus just shrugged and left. He didn't want recognition. He just wanted to do what felt right. What Marcus didn't know was that someone was watching. Someone who would make sure this moment didn't go unnoticed. Monday. Morning came like any other. The alarm clock screaming at 6:30. The cold shower because the hot water heater was broken again. The same worn backpack with the duct-taped strap. Marcus walked into Jefferson High School expecting another ordinary day of trying to stay invisible. But the hallways felt different. Have you ever noticed how news travels in a high school? Like wildfire through dry grass? Students were whispering, looking at their phones, glancing up as he passed. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. What had he done wrong? Was there another video of him online? Another reason to be mocked? He kept his head down and headed to first period. The announcements crackled to life over the ancient speaker system. Principal Williams' voice filled every classroom, every hallway. Good morning, Jefferson High. Before we begin our regular announcements, I have something special to share. Marcus sank lower in his seat. This weekend, one of our students did something extraordinary, something that reminds us all what integrity looks like. The principal's voice carried an unusual warmth. Marcus Thompson, a junior here at Jefferson, found a wallet containing over $2,000 at Westfield Mall. The classroom turned to stare. You know that feeling when suddenly every eye is on you? When you want to disappear into the floor? Marcus felt his face burn. His hands gripped the edge of his desk. This wasn't supposed to happen. He hadn't done it for attention. He'd done it because it was right. Instead of keeping it, Marcus immediately turned it into security. The wallet belonged to Mr. Harold Stevenson, a 78-year-old veteran who was carrying his entire month's medication money. The whisper started immediately. But Principal Williams wasn't finished. Mr. Stevenson contacted our school this morning. He wanted to make sure we knew what kind of student we have here. Marcus, would you please come to the main office after this period? The rest of the class passed in a blur. Marcus couldn't focus on the lesson. His mind raced with possibilities. What did the principal want? Was he in trouble somehow? Had he filled out the security report wrong? When the bell finally rang, his legs felt like lead as he walked toward the office. The principal's office had always felt intimidating. Those heavy wooden doors. The secretary who seemed to know everyone's business. The smell of old coffee and copy paper. Marcus had only been here once before, freshman year, when he'd been caught skipping lunch because he didn't have money to eat. Marcus, come in. Principal Williams smiled. It was genuine, reaching his eyes. Inside the office stood an elderly man in a Navy veteran's cap. His eyes were misty, his hand extended. "You must be Marcus," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm Harold Stevenson. You found my wallet. How do you respond when someone looks at you like you've saved their life?" Marcus shook his hand, unsure what to say. The old man's grip was firm but trembling slightly. "Sir, I just did what anyone would do," Marcus mumbled, looking at his worn sneakers. "No, son. No, you didn't." Mr. Stevenson's voice cracked. "Do you know what was in that wallet? Not just money, my late wife's picture. The last note she wrote me before she passed. Things money can't replace. That cash? It was for my heart medication. Without it, I would have had to choose between medicine and food this month." The room fell silent. You see, sometimes we don't realize how our small actions ripple outward, like stones thrown in still water. Marcus had thought he was just returning money. But he'd returned so much more. He'd returned dignity, hope, faith in humanity. Things that had been slowly slipping away from an old man who'd seen too much of the world's darkness. "I told Principal Williams I wanted to do something," Mr. Stevenson continued. "But he told me about you, son, about your situation. Your mother working doubles, your sister needing things, and still you gave back every penny." Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. Principal Williams cleared his throat. "Marcus, Mr. Stevenson, has made a proposal. He wants to establish a scholarship fund at Jefferson High, the Harold and Margaret Stevenson Integrity Scholarship. $5,000 a year for a student who demonstrates exceptional character. He wants you to be the first recipient." The world seemed to stop. $5,000? That was more money than Marcus had ever imagined having. College had always felt like an impossible dream, something for other kids with parents who could afford it. I don't know what to say," Marcus whispered. "Say you'll make us proud." Mr. Stevenson smiled. "Say you'll use this chance to become the man I already see in you." Word spread through Jefferson High like electricity through water. By lunch, everyone knew. The kid who wore the same 3 shirts in rotation. The kid who never went to parties because he was babysitting his sister. The kid who worked weekends at the grocery store. He was getting a full scholarship, but not everyone was happy about it. You know how success can bring out the worst in people? How someone else's blessing can feel like your curse? The whispers started almost immediately. He probably staged the whole thing. Must be nice to get rewarded for basic human decency. Why him? I return things all the time. Marcus heard them all. He sat in his usual spot in the cafeteria, the corner table where the overhead light flickered. His best friend James slid into the seat across from him. "Man, don't let them get to you. They're just jealous." But it wasn't that simple, was it? When you've spent your whole life in the shadows, sudden light can be blinding. Marcus had perfected the art of being invisible, of not taking up too much space, of not asking for too much. Now everyone was watching. Teachers smiled at him in the halls. Students who'd never noticed him suddenly wanted to be friends. "I didn't ask for this," Marcus said quietly. James leaned forward. "No, but maybe that's exactly why you deserve it. You ever think about that? You did the right thing when nobody was watching, when you had every reason not to. That's rare, man. That's special. The truth has a way of hitting you when you least expect it." Marcus thought about his mother. How she'd cried when he told her about the scholarship. Not sad tears, happy ones, the kind she hadn't shed in years. "Baby, you just changed our lives," she'd whispered, holding him tight. "You just opened doors I couldn't open for you." He thought about his little sister, Keisha, 8 years old and already too aware of what they didn't have. How her eyes had gone wide when he'd told her. "Does this mean you're going to be a doctor? Like you wanted?" she'd asked. "Does this mean you won't have to leave us? Sometimes the weight of dreams is heavier than the weight of struggle." But then Marcus thought about Mr. Stevenson, the way his weathered hands had shaken, the way his voice had broken when he talked about his wife. The photograph in that wallet, edges soft from years of handling. A love that transcended death. A memory that money couldn't buy. No scholarship was worth more than that reunion. The local news picked up the story. Teens' honesty rewarded with scholarship, made for the kind of feel-good segment people craved. The reporter, a polished woman, with perfect teeth, stood outside Jefferson High with her microphone. Marcus tried to decline the interview, but Principal Williams insisted. "Have you ever noticed how different you look on camera? How your voice sounds strange when played back?" Marcus sat in the library, bright lights in his face, trying not to fidget. The reporter leaned forward with practiced sympathy. "Tell us, Marcus, what made you return the wallet?" Such a simple question. Such a complicated answer. "My mom always taught me that integrity isn't about doing right when people are watching," Marcus said slowly. "It's about who you are when no one's looking. When I saw that wallet, I thought about the person who lost it. How scared they must be. How that money might mean everything to them." The reporter nodded, already crafting her narrative. But Marcus wasn't finished. "People keep calling me a hero. I'm not. I'm just a kid who did what he was taught. The real heroes are people like my mom, who work every day to teach their kids right from wrong, even when life is hard, even when doing wrong would be easier." The interview aired that night. You wouldn't believe how many people called the school the next day. Donations poured in for the scholarship fund. Local businesses wanted to contribute. Other students started sharing their own stories of integrity, small acts of kindness that had gone unnoticed. Mr. Stevenson watched from his small apartment, tears in his eyes. He pulled out his wife Margaret's photo, the one from the wallet. "You were right, honey," he whispered. "There are still good people. Still reasons to hope." He'd been so lost since she'd passed, so ready to believe the world had turned cold. But this kid, this 16-year-old boy with nothing, had reminded him that light still existed. Marcus didn't know it yet, but his story was just beginning. The scholarship announcement was scheduled for Friday's assembly. The whole school would be there. Local media, too. The mayor had even promised to attend. It should have been the happiest week of Marcus's life. But something felt off. A tension in the air he couldn't quite name. Sometimes when things seem too good to be true, it's because the universe is preparing you for something bigger. Thursday night, Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. These days, too many people had his number, too many people wanted something from him, but something made him swipe right. "Marcus? This is Harold Stevenson." The old man's voice sounded different, urgent, worried. "Sir? Is everything okay?" Marcus asked, stepping out onto the small balcony of their apartment. The city lights twinkled below, each one representing a life, a story, a struggle. "I need to see you tonight. Can you meet me at the mall? Same food court where you found my wallet?" Why do the most important moments always come when we least expect them? Marcus looked back through the sliding door. His mother was asleep on the couch, still in her work uniform. Keisha was doing homework at the kitchen table. "Sir, it's kinda late. Can it wait until tomorrow? The assembly. Please, son. This can't wait." There was something in his voice, a desperation that made Marcus's chest tighten. "Okay, give me 30 minutes. The mall was different at night, emptier. The bright lights seemed harsh without the crowds to soften them. Marcus found Mr. Stevenson sitting at a table, 2 cups of coffee waiting. He looked older somehow, more fragile. "Sit down, Marcus. We need to talk. You know that feeling when you're about to receive news that will change everything? That moment when the air feels too thick to breathe?" Marcus sat, his hands wrapped around the warm cup, waiting. "I haven't been entirely honest with you, Mr. Stevenson began. About who I am, about why I was carrying so much cash." He pulled out a folder, thick with papers. "I'm not just a veteran living on Social Security. I own Stevenson Industries. We make medical equipment. I'm worth quite a bit of money." The words didn't compute. Marcus stared at the papers, financial statements, company letterheads, numbers with more zeros than he could process. "I don't understand. Then why Why was I so upset about the wallet? Mr. Stevenson smiled sadly. Because money means nothing when you're alone. When Margaret died, I started carrying that cash to give away, to strangers, to people who needed it. It was my way of feeling connected, of feeling human. The coffee grew cold between them, but that day I'd just come from the hospital. Bad news about my heart. I was scared, confused when I realized I'd lost the wallet. It wasn't about the money. It was about her picture, her note, the last pieces of her I could hold. His voice broke. And then you gave them back to me. Marcus didn't know what to say. This man, this millionaire, had been wandering malls giving away money just to feel something, just to matter to someone. The loneliness of it was suffocating. The scholarship fund? That's just the beginning, Mr. Stevenson continued. I've been watching you, Marcus, investigating. Not in a creepy way. He laughed softly. I wanted to know who you really were. What I found amazed me. Mr. Stevenson spread the papers across the table. Report cards, teacher recommendations, even security footage from Marcus's job at the grocery store. You help elderly customers to their cars without being asked. You slip extra items into bags when families are counting change. You tutor kids in the library for free. Every secret kindness laid bare. Have you ever had someone see through your carefully constructed walls? See the person you try to hide? Marcus felt exposed, vulnerable. All those small acts he thought no one noticed. They'd all been seen, recorded, remembered. I don't have children, Mr. Stevenson said quietly. Margaret and I tried for years. It just wasn't meant to be. But I have money, more than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. And I've been looking for someone worthy of it. The food court suddenly felt too small. Sir, I don't want your money, Marcus said quickly. The scholarship is already too much. I just wanted to return your wallet, that's all. I know. That's exactly why you're perfect. Mr. Stevenson leaned forward. I'm dying, Marcus. My heart. The doctors give me maybe a year. Maybe less. I've been searching for someone to carry on Margaret's and my legacy. Someone who understands that wealth means nothing without compassion. The weight of revelation pressed down like gravity itself. I want to adopt you, legally, you and your family. I want to make sure you have everything you need, not just for college, for life. I want to teach you the business, show you how to use wealth for good, how to change lives. His eyes pleaded. I want to matter, to leave something behind besides money. Marcus's world tilted off its axis. Adoption? This stranger wanted to adopt him? His mind raced. What about his mother, his sister? Their small apartment might not be much, but it was home. Their struggles had made them who they were. Would money change that? Would it change him? I need to think, Marcus whispered. I need to talk to my mom. Of course. Take all the time you need. The assembly tomorrow? I wanted to announce more than just a scholarship, but only if you're ready. Only if you want this. Mr. Stevenson stood slowly, his age showing in every movement. Whatever you decide, you've already given me more than you know. You gave me hope. Marcus watched him walk away, each step careful and measured. The mall felt different now. Every store, every light, every sound seemed to whisper possibilities, but also warnings. Money had a way of changing people, he'd seen it. Kids from his neighborhood who'd made it out only to forget where they came from. Would that happen to him? Marcus didn't sleep that night. He sat on the fire escape outside his window, watching the city breathe. His mother found him there at 3 a.m., wrapped in her old robe, 2 mugs of tea in her hands. Want to tell me what's wrong, baby? How do you explain that someone wants to give you the world and you're not sure you should take it? Marcus told her everything. About Mr. Stevenson's real identity, about the adoption offer, about the fear that gripped his chest like a vice. His mother listened without interrupting, her face unreadable in the dim light. You know what I thought when you were born? She finally said. I thought, this boy is going to change the world. Not because he'll be rich or famous, but because he has a good heart, because he sees people, really sees them. The tea warmed his hands but not his doubts. Money doesn't change people, Marcus, it reveals them, shows who they really are inside. You've been tested your whole life. Every time you chose to share when you had nothing. Every time you helped, instead of taking. You think having money will suddenly make you different? Sometimes mothers see us clearer than we see ourselves. But what if it does? Marcus asked. What if I forget? What if I become one of those people who... Then I'll remind you. Keisha will remind you. We're not going anywhere, baby. This man isn't trying to buy you. He's trying to invest in you, in the person you already are. She took his hand. The question is, what could you do with those resources? How many people could you help? The city stretched out before them, millions of lives intersecting. Marcus thought about his classmates who couldn't afford college, the families in their buildings struggling to make rent, the kids at the community center with dreams bigger than their circumstances. What if he could change that? What if one returned wallet could ripple out to touch thousands of lives? I'm scared, Mom. Good. That means it matters. That means you understand the responsibility. She squeezed his hand. But baby, you've been carrying responsibility your whole life. Maybe it's time to let someone help carry it with you. Dawn was breaking by the time they went inside. Marcus had 3 hours before the assembly. 3 hours to make a decision that would change everything. He thought about Mr. Stevenson, alone in his big house with only memories for company. About his mother working herself to exhaustion. About Keisha, brilliant and curious but limited by their circumstances. Maybe saying yes wasn't about taking. Maybe it was about giving. The phone rang at 7 a.m. Mr. Stevenson's voice was gentle. Whatever you decide, Marcus, I meant what I said. You've already given me everything. The assembly was packed. Students crammed into bleachers. Parents lined the walls. News cameras positioned strategically. Marcus sat in the front row, his pressed shirt already damp with sweat. His mother and Keisha were somewhere in the crowd, but he couldn't see them through the lights. Principal Williams took the microphone, his voice booming through the gymnasium. You know those moments that feel like they're happening in slow motion, when every detail burns itself into memory. This was one of them. The squeak of sneakers on the polished floor, the smell of industrial cleanser and teenage anxiety. The way the light caught the dust motes dancing in the air. Today, we celebrate integrity, the principal began. We celebrate choices made in private that echo in public. We celebrate Marcus Thompson. The applause was thunderous. Marcus stood on shaky legs, making his way to the small stage. He could see Mr. Stevenson now, sitting with the school board, that gentle smile creasing his weathered face. The microphone felt heavy in his hands. He'd prepared a speech, practiced it. But now, facing all these expectant faces, the words evaporated. I'm not good at speeches, Marcus began, his voice cracking slightly. Few people chuckled, but it was kind laughter. Understanding. I'm just a kid who found a wallet, who did what my mom taught me, what all our parents try to teach us. The gymnasium grew quiet, but I learned something this week. I learned that sometimes the smallest actions have the biggest consequences. That integrity isn't just about doing right. It's about inspiring others to do right too. He found his mother's face in the crowd. She was crying, smiling, nodding. Mr. Stevenson offered me more than a scholarship. He offered me a chance to be part of something bigger, to learn how to use resources to help others, to pay forward what's been given to me. Marcus took a deep breath. I've decided to accept his offer. All of it. The silence stretched for a heartbeat. Then another. Then the gymnasium erupted. Students on their feet, teachers applauding, cameras flashing. But Marcus only had eyes for Mr. Stevenson, who was struggling to stand, tears streaming down his face. They met in the middle of the stage, the embrace of a boy who'd found a father, and a man who'd found a son. Thank you, Mr. Stevenson whispered. Thank you for giving me a family. Marcus held him tighter. Thank you for seeing me, the real me. Sometimes families are born from loss, From wallet dropped and found, from integrity tested and proven, from loneliness reaching out to loneliness and finding connection. The months that followed were a whirlwind. Legal papers, moving trucks, a new house with more rooms than they knew what to do with, but also family dinners where Mr. Stevenson taught Keisha card tricks, late nights where he and Marcus pored over business plans, mornings where Marcus's mother cooked breakfast for 4 instead of 3. The money was almost beside the point. Have you ever watched someone come alive again, like a plant that's been in darkness suddenly finding sun? That was Mr. Stevenson. He had purpose again, legacy, love. He showed Marcus the company, introduced him to employees who'd worked there for decades. This will all be yours one day, he said. But more importantly, it will be theirs. Every person who works here, every family depending on us. That's what wealth really is. Responsibility. Marcus started small. A fund at Jefferson High for students who couldn't afford lunch, tutoring programs with paid positions for older students, new equipment for the community center, each project carefully planned, sustainably funded. But not everyone was happy with the fairy tale ending. You know how people can be, how they whisper about what they don't understand. He's not really their son. It's all about the money. Just wait until the old man dies. Marcus heard them all. They stung, even when he pretended they didn't. One evening, he found Mr. Stevenson on the porch, Margaret's photo in his hands. "Do you think she would have liked me?" Marcus asked, sitting beside him. "She would have loved you. You know how I know?" The old man smiled. "Because you ask that question, because it matters to you. Margaret always said the best people are the ones who doubt themselves just enough to keep trying to be better." The photo was faded, but the love in it was clear. "I'm not trying to replace your father," Mr. Stevenson said quietly. "I know you never knew him, but that doesn't mean you don't carry him with you. I'm just trying to add to your life, not subtract from it." "You're not adding," Marcus said. "You're multiplying everything, the possibilities, the hope, the family." He paused. The love. Sometimes the simplest words carry the most weight. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over their neighborhood. The same neighborhood Marcus had grown up in. They'd refused to move far. "We bloom where we're planted," his mother had said. "We just have better fertilizer now." A year passed. Mr. Stevenson's heart held on, defying doctors' predictions. "I've got reasons to stick around now," he'd joke. But they all knew it was more than a joke. Purpose is powerful medicine, love even more so. The Stevenson Integrity Foundation was officially launched on a cold November morning. Marcus stood at the podium, no longer the nervous boy from the assembly. He'd grown, not just in height or confidence, but in understanding. Understanding of what wealth could do when guided by wisdom, what integrity could build when given resources. "We're starting with 10 full scholarships," he announced. But not just any scholarships. These are for students who demonstrate kindness when no one's watching, who help without expecting reward, who choose right over easy. The audience was different now. Community leaders, business owners, philanthropists. But in the front row sat the people who mattered most. His mother, radiant in a dress she'd never dreamed of owning. Keisha, now thriving in a school that challenged her brilliant mind. And Mr. Stevenson, dad as he'd become, proud and present. "My dad taught me something important," Marcus continued, the word dad still feeling new and precious on his tongue. "He taught me that money is just a tool, like a hammer. You can use it to build or to break. We choose to build." After the ceremony, a young girl approached. Maybe 13, worn backpack, familiar exhaustion in her eyes. "I found this," she said quietly, holding out an expensive phone. "I think someone dropped it." Marcus knelt to her level. "What's your name?" "Destiny." "Well, Destiny, let's go find the owner together." And then I want to tell you about a program we have for kids who do the right thing when no one's watching. The cycle continued, ripples becoming waves. You see, that's how real change happens, not in grand gestures or sudden windfalls, but in small choices that inspire other small choices, in integrity that breeds integrity, in kindness that multiplies exponentially. That night, Mr. Stevenson had another heart episode. The hospital was becoming too familiar, but as he lay in the bed, surrounded by his chosen family, he smiled. "I'm not afraid anymore," he said. "I've seen my legacy. It's not in buildings or bank accounts. It's in you. All of you." Marcus held his hand. His mother held the other. Keisha curled up at his feet. A family forged from loss and found in love. "You gave me back more than my wallet that day," Mr. Stevenson whispered. "You gave me back my life, my purpose, my family. Sometimes the smallest acts create the biggest miracles." 5 years later, Marcus stood in the same mall where it all began. The food court had been renovated, but he could still point to the exact spot where he'd found the wallet. He wasn't alone. Dozens of scholarship recipients stood with him. Kids who'd chosen integrity over ease, who'd been seen and supported. Mr. Stevenson had lived 3 more years than doctors predicted, long enough to see Marcus graduate college, long enough to walk Keisha to her first day of high school, long enough to dance at Marcus's mother's wedding, to a good man who cherished her. His final words were about Margaret, about wallets, about found families. Now Marcus carried on the legacy. Not just the money or the company, but the belief. The belief that one small act of integrity could change everything. That kindness was never wasted. That doing right when no one was watching was the truest measure of character. "Tell them our story," he said to the gathered students. "Tell them how a lost wallet became a found family, how integrity became opportunity, how choosing right when it's hard can open doors you never imagined." You might think this is just another feel-good story, another unlikely tale of rags to riches. But look closer. Look at the janitor who returned the forgotten laptop, the cashier who chased down a customer with their change, the child who stood up to bullies. They're all around us, these everyday heroes, these integrity warriors. What wallet are you carrying? What choice are you facing? Because here's the truth. We all find wallets. Maybe not literal ones filled with cash, but moments. Opportunities to choose between right and easy, between integrity and invisibility, between who we are and who we want to be. Marcus Thompson was just a teenager at a mall, tired, broke, tempted, but he chose integrity. And that choice echoed through lives he couldn't have imagined, created families where there was loneliness, built futures where there was despair, sparked hope where there was resignation. Your wallet is waiting. Your choice is coming. Your moment to matter is closer than you think. What will you do when no one's watching? Who will you become when tested? How will your one small act of integrity ripple out to touch lives you'll never know? The universe is watching, not to judge, but to celebrate, to multiply, to transform your one right choice into countless opportunities for others. Be the Marcus in someone's story. Be the Mr. Stevenson who sees potential. Be the mother who teaches integrity despite struggle. Be the proof that goodness exists and matters and wins like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Share your own story of integrity in the comments below. Because this channel isn't just about feel-good stories. It's about the real good choices that change lives. One wallet, one choice, one person at a time. The teenager who returned a wallet thought he was just doing the right thing. He had no idea he was changing the trajectory of multiple lives. He had no idea that integrity would be rewarded beyond his wildest dreams. But, most importantly, he had no idea that his one small act would inspire thousands of others to choose right over easy. That's the power you hold. Right now, today, in your next choice. What will you do with it?